Hello there, you've probably noticed that I changed up my angle a little bit. I am filming my iPad instead of actually just screen recording my iPad. There's a very good reason for that, and that is I'm going to be showing you some of the advanced brush tools, and in order to do that, I need to show you some hand gestures. Now we've talked about the brush already. I can go in and I can draw whatever I want, but there are a lot of hand gestures that we can do that kind of speed up your workflow when you're doing this sort of thing. For example, if I want to undo, there is an undo button, but another thing you could do is take two fingers and tap on the screen and undo that way as well. That way, if I draw a lot of lines, this takes us to kind of our next hand gesture that's worth mentioning, which is I can take these two fingers, I can place them on the screen, and I can undo quickly. In fact, that way undid back to what I was doing before. So I want to actually go forward. I've gone back too far. How do I go forward? Well, redo is three fingers. So I put three fingers down and I can redo. And of course, if I hold them, I'll go forward quickly. And there we go. Now I'm back to the white canvas that I always wanted. Now, what I came here to do today was to draw a straight line. And you might think I need a ruler to draw a straight line because it's kind of hard when I'm just drawing to draw a perfectly straight line, right? Well, if I hold my pencil down, my line automatically becomes straight. And I can move it anywhere I want, and it's still going to be straight. And so when I let go, it's going to draw that line. So I could draw the squiggliest line I want, but when I stop, if I hold the pencil down at the end, it lets me draw a straight line. And I let go, and there we go. This particular action is called quick line, and some people it's going to drive you nuts because you never want a straight line, you want an organic line. So if you stop for a second, you don't want it to snap to that. So there is a preference that we can do. If I go to my wrench in the upper left hand corner and tap on that, and all the way over here in preferences, I tap on that, and down here you will see quick line delay. I have mine set to 0.96 seconds, which is just under a second. I think that's a good enough amount of time for me. I can turn it way down to 0.17, so I draw a squiggly line, stop, and I'm already snapping to my quick line. Another thing you're going to see happening here is it's taking the pressure of my curve, and you can see that line is kind of looking a little thinner at the end and a little thinner in the middle. Let me see if I can get a nice one. I'll go thin and then thick, and then maybe thin and thick again. And when it lets go, yeah, it does some funky stuff. So oftentimes if I'm drawing a straight line, I'll just try to keep my pressure consistent, so that way I get a nice straight line. I don't want any of these, so I'm just going to tap my undo a couple times and get back to my white canvas. Another thing I should point out is I've been using just my ink line for this, but if I tap on my brushes and I go to something, say, artistic, like this Jenski Link, am I saying that right? No. Jasinski ink. I'm standing up and the iPad's a little further away from me. It's harder to read. But I'll tap that brush off, and this can also be used in the same way. When I stop drawing, this is kind of neat because you can see the texture moving underneath it. So any brush you could do this with. There we go, and now we have our straight lines. Now, one of the hard things to do is how do you make a perfectly straight line? Like I want them to be parallel. I could use my eyes to match that up, but there's an easier way to make like a perfectly straight line. Maybe we want to make a box, so I'll undo these lines here for a second. And when I start drawing my line and it snaps to, if I take a finger, my other hand, and I put it anywhere on the canvas, we can see that that snapped. Did you see that? Watch as I put my finger down. It snaps into place at a perfect angle, and as I move it up, it moves at increments. So we can actually go all the way up like that. So you can see it snapping to the angle I want it. So if I want to draw a perfect rectangle, I can totally do that by putting my finger down and drawing my rectangle. Oops, put my finger down. There we go. And now I have a perfect rectangle with perfect 90-degree angles. I use this all the time for drawing comic book panels because it's a great way to get that perfect square or get that perfect angle. So before I end this section, I'm going to go back to my preferences by tapping that wrench in the corner, and I'm going to take my quick line and I'm going to move it back up. You can move it up to about a second and a half, 1.5 seconds. I'm going to move it back up to a second because that's the way I like it. And that's all I'm going to do for this one. So there we go. That's a nice and a fun way to kind of play with brushes and get perfectly straight lines.